Alright folks, welcome back. I'm going to show you how to finish off the stitching and get everything secured. So this is the saddle stitch almost complete. The whip stitch is going to be very similar in the process, so I'm just going to have the one video, but I'll refer to the whip stitching as well, and you'll be able to fill in the blanks on that. So for this video, other than what I have here in front of me, I'm going to need some scissors and some fire. So let's finish our stitching. The whole point here is to get back to the original holes that I started in with the end of the thread for both threads in both cases with the saddle stitching or the whip stitching coming out of the back, and it's preferable to have them in the same hole. You could do them in holes next to each other. You just want to make sure, more importantly than anything else, that you have at least an inch of slack, an inch of thread that you've cut, so that when you do the burning process, the wax melts together and congeals so that you have a nice secure weld of wax on the back to keep everything from coming apart. I mean, these tags will probably get a good bit of wear and tear, so we want to make sure we get them nice and secure. So let's finish our stitching. I'm going to do, in this case, one more saddle stitch to the left. Try to take care not to stab through any thread that has already been sewn in. Oh, whoops, I went one too far on that. Got excited. Alright, so one over. And then back to front. So the stitching now looks complete. So I'm going to take this one further to double up this next one over, and then I can melt the backs. So with the saddle stitching, it actually looks like we're going to have the backs coming out. There'll be one hole apart, and you'll see what I'm saying here. So I'm going to leave this one where it is in the back, and I'm going to go one further with the front. You're welcome to continue this stitching one more, double back, do whatever you'd like if you want to get more thread through the holes, just to make sure you have a little more security. I think it gets to be looking a little bulky if you keep wrapping the thread around the same couple of holes. So I'm going to cut it here and just take care to make sure I have a good bit of slack and I burn this nice and thoroughly to get everything melted together, and that'll keep it plenty secure. So at this point, as I said, both of these threads are one hole apart. I'm going to leave myself a good inch and a half at least of thread. And these tend to come apart when you're burning them, but I'm still going to twist it. And now all we're going to do is we're going to melt the thread together, and we're going to get it nice and melted until it is up against all these other threads. And I'm going to use my finger to push the melted wax together. I recommend using just some sort of blunt object if you don't want to use your fingers. It is hot and it can definitely burn you. But I've got some pretty callous fingers, so I'm going to just tamp it on out. Alright, so that is the most thread that I have melted down at once. That was a good bit. So you can see we've got this weld here on the back, and I've got a little bit of residue on the fingers. So let that be a warning to you. If you're using about 2 inches of thread, that might be more than you need. This is a solid buildup of wax. This thing isn't going anywhere, so it is pretty bomb-proof, but at the same time, there's a little bit of mess on the back and a little bit of residue on the finger. So maybe do about half that amount and use something else to tamp it out. So learn from my mistakes, and I believe we are good to go. So yeah, this will definitely look cleaner on the back if you are to do if you're to burn less of the material. So it's up to you. But you can't tell on the front, and that's what really matters. All right, and so just real quick for the whip stitch, if you already do the whip stitch, what I would do for that, since it's only the one thread, you're going to have the starting thread hanging out the back here. For your finishing thread, I would say get it through that same hole that you started with, or the one right next to it, just like in the saddle stitch video. So figure out how to get your stitching pattern such that those can be next to each other, both coming out the back, and then do the same process. And then you're good to go, and then you just throw the split ring on, and that is everything. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.